Hey there, welcome to Dave Flynn on the radio, the #1 blogcast on the internet. I'm Dave Flynn, and since reading is hard, I'm going to do it for you. Okay, it is official. The Tom Petty episode, it broke us. Dozens and dozens of listeners. Lots of nice notes from y'all, thank you. And then, like any good party, the cops came. The copyright cops, the fair use cops. Now, the Petty songs, they turned out pretty cool. I had to go and label them under fair use, and we took it to appeal, and they came back fine. So I'm hoping we can move forward and don't have to pull those episodes down. I know one thing. Nobody was streaming Hypnotic Eye and Red River before I plugged it. So I'm expecting a Christmas card come winter, but the thing they were less cool about, and I guess I get it, was Thunderstruck. Yeah, Thunderstruck, the backing music for the open and the close, that is not fair use. That's just use. And I knew it, and I felt like this day was coming, but I did nothing about it. After they reached out, I was compelled to swap it out. And I'd planned a few updates for the new year anyhow. We're coming up on year 2 of the pod, and so we'll just start moving forward with those updates immediately. How's that sound? Let me know what you think, though. As always, and in always, it's a work in progress. But getting back to today, the timing on this one felt a little bit off right up until I sat down with my wife and my daughter on Tuesday night to watch my Seahawks. And no, there was no game on TV. It was my defending champion Hawks on Hard Knocks. And it clicked. Now is the perfect time for my Russell Wilson appreciation post. And shoot, this could have gone in the What I've Learned from bucket with Petty and Munger and Seth Godin and all the others, except, I didn't learn that much from Russ over the years. Just this one big thing, really. But I'm thankful for it. Today's post bobs and weaves through football, into sports psychology, into pop psychology, and in and out of creativity and business. If you're wondering what an NFL quarterback, a Victorian novelist, a Depression-era hustler, and Luke Skywalker have in common, stick around. Today is your day. By the end, you will see how to put your imagination to work, how to use visualization to sharpen your performance in hopefully a number of ways. Sound good? Okay. You can find an idea every Monday over at winwithflynn.com. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump into the show.
Got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. It's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Dave Flynn?
On the radio.
Hold on to your butts.
Imagine that. Man, what happened to Russ? For a stretch there, you could walk into any sports club in Seattle and hear that question. The once mobile QB seemed to have lost a step, packed on a few pounds, and the plays, the scrambles, the inadvisable spins and jukes that just seemed to work years before, the ones that made him a household name and an all-pro, had dwindled. As his play trended down, his antics off the field ticked up. It made you wonder if his head was on the game or on the fame. Off to Denver he went, then Pittsburgh, then New York. Social media stayed chock full of cringy moments, from the former All-Pro and his wife And because his play was in decline and because all those cringe-worthy moments, losing him hurt just a little bit less. But before anyone was asking what happened to Russ, they were yelling something else to anyone within earshot. Let Russ cook. Let him do his thing, as inadvisable as it looked, because it just seemed to work. You'd shake your head, thank baby Jesus, and high-five your buddies. It was a lot of fun. Russell Wilson announced his retirement from the NFL. We'll play this season with him on the sidelines. Like a lot of athletes, the announcement came a few years too late. But instead of relitigating every vomit-inducing moment of the past few seasons, I want to go back to something Wilson taught me in his early days here in Seattle. Super Bowl 49, second and goal. Wilson throws a pick. Malcolm Butler jumped the route. Game over. Hawks lose. The announcers, along with 98% of fans, were all asking the same question. Why the hell didn't they hand it off to Marshawn Lynch? And with the weeks of conversation and analysis that followed, a lot of fans got their first real lesson in resulting, judging a decision's quality based only on its result. Jump off a bridge, survive, and think to yourself, wow, I'm a flippin' genius. The pass, as it turns out, was a pretty good call. It just didn't work. But my Wilson lesson came earlier. Before any of the Super Bowls, it was the very first interview I heard after we drafted him. Asked how he evades tacklers, he didn't talk about training or practice or agility drills. He talked about the Regency Square Mall in Richmond, Virginia. 8 years old, Wilson was bobbing and weaving through the busy corridors, past Cinnabon and Auntie Anne's pretzels with his eyes up, not on the people in his way, but on the gaps, spinning, juking, reading the flow, feeling for lanes as they opened and closed. And in his head, he wasn't at the mall. He was outside on the field, playing ball. Visualization is doing mentally what you do physically. It's what a kid does in the driveway, down by one, clock ticking, 10, 9, 8, that buzzer beater over Charles Oakley or Dikembe Mutombo. That's visualization. Imagining the thing before it happens, if it ever happens. And these mental reps have a beautiful property. Not only do they work, they're infinite. I'm a person that visualizes all the time, Wilson said. I started doing that at a young age, growing up watching Allen Iverson and Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. They used to always talk about visualizing. So that's something I've always worked on ever since I was younger. Kobe took it further. In The Mamba Mentality, he wrote that film study stopped being about what happened and started being about what's missing and should have been there. Imagining the alternatives, the counters, the plays that could have been. That reframed film for me. I'd always thought of it as a way to catch mistakes, and it is that, but it's also a canvas. Not just what you should have done, but what you could have done. Ben Hogan did it one shot at a time. Before he'd swing, he'd feel the clubhead meet the ball exactly right. Feel the perfect follow-through. Then step up and let muscle memory take over. Aaron Rodgers learned it in the 6th grade. When I'm in a meeting, watching film, or in bed before I go to sleep, I always visualize making those plays, he told USA Today. I visualized the majority before I ever made them. And if you ever caught Wilson during a pregame, you saw the grown-up version of that driveway kid. Beats headphones, shorts, tank top, nobody else around, running plays by himself on an empty field, breaking the huddle, calling audibles, hitting receivers who weren't there, dodging tacklers who weren't there, occasionally, but only occasionally, handing off to a phantom Marshawn Lynch, even hushing the crowd at the goal line that only existed in his head. It looked, frankly, a little bit crazy. He was visualizing. He'd even scout the buildings. I haven't been to Jacksonville, haven't played there before, so I looked up pictures of the stadium and try to visualize what things look like, where the play clock is, all those things, just so I can be comfortable before I even get there. Comfort is key. To have been there, done that, when in fact you have not. That's an edge. It lets you relax and play loose when the moment arrives. Especially, Wilson said, in the red zone, where everything happens faster and you've got no time to think. So, does this stuff really work? Probably. Back in 1943, 3 psychologists, Vandal, Davis, and Clugston, ran an experiment, testing it on both dart throwing and basketball free throws. Group 1, physical practice, 24% improvement. Group 2, no practice, no improvement. Group 3, mental practice, imagining successful throws, correcting misses in your imagination. 23% improvement. Over 3 weeks, the kids who only practiced in their heads nearly kept pace with the kids who actually shot. These patterns keep showing up. From big presentations to swim to Formula One, people are visualizing, imagining, and seeing the benefit. Much of this has been discussed in Maxwell Maltz's Psycho-Cybernetics. Maltz writes, "Our brain and nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined." Maltz gives examples. Tell a hypnotized subject he's standing at the North Pole and he'll begin to shiver. Tell him your finger is a red-hot poker and his body may respond as though he's been burned. Then things get a little bit stranger. Ask a fully awake college student to imagine one hand submerged in ice water and their temperature drops. Ask them to imagine a warm spot on their forehead and their temperature rises. Maltz's conclusion was that the nervous system often responds not only to reality, but to vividly imagined reality. Your day-to-day experience is a carefully controlled hallucination, Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett writes, and it's constrained by the world and your body, but ultimately constructed by your brain. So what will you construct? Napoleon Hill used his imagination a different way. In search of mentors he could never get in real life, he studied the most successful men in the world and came up with 9 men that resonated with him. Emerson, Paine, Edison, Darwin, Lincoln, Napoleon, Ford, Carnegie, Burbank. In Think and Grow Rich, he writes, "I followed the habits of reshaping my own character by trying to imitate the 9 men whose lives and life works had been most impressive to me." But he went well beyond learning about these men. He began to meet with them in his imagination. Every night, over a long period of years, I held imaginary council meetings with this group who I called my invisible counselors. Just before going to sleep at night, I would shut my eyes and see, in my imagination, this group of men seated with me around my council table. We already do a version of this. Luke talked with Obi-Wan. Maverick talked with Goose. We quote Jesus and the Buddha. We cite dead presidents and generals. We mimic the stars we grew up watching. We've all got invisible counselors. Charles Dickens did it without meaning to. Scrooge and Tiny Tim haunted his waking hours and felt more real to him than the people in the room. The critic, G.H. Lewis, said of Dickens, "His imagination is a kind of controlled hallucination. There it is again. You might push back. I don't know what they'd actually say to me. But for the people you truly admire, you do know what they'd say. Wait till your father gets home only works as a threat because you already know exactly what your father's going to say. I've never met Warren Buffett, but I sure as shit know what he'd tell me to do with my money. Low-cost S&P 500 index fund. But when I'm logged into my brokerage account, staring at the latest IPO going to the moon, can I hear Buffett? Or is he drowned out by the other voice in my head, the one promising 100x returns? Fictional conversations can be surprisingly powerful, but you've got to pick the right story. The wonderful Wizard of Oz admitted he couldn't actually give the Scarecrow a brain, the Tin Man a heart, or the Lion courage. I'm really a very good man, he tells Dorothy, but I'm just a very bad wizard. Yet somehow, the Scarecrow became wiser, the Lion braver, and the Tin Man kinder anyways. The wizard hadn't changed them, didn't give them anything they didn't already have. His power was imagined, but did that mean it wasn't real? Wilson's mental coach, Trevor Moawad, liked to say, the past is real but not predictive. That's easy to forget. We all carry around a running list of our mistakes, embarrassments, failures, and near misses. We replay them, ruminate, and it seems as though those outcomes are all but assured. But memory only tells you what happened. Imagination tells you what might happen next. The last few years of Wilson's career were messy. There was plenty of cringe. The magic eventually ran out, as it does for every athlete. But I'll remember the quarterback running imaginary plays before games, throwing passes to receivers who weren't there, escaping defenders who didn't exist yet. How could I forget? And I'll remember how it started. The kid sprinting through a Virginia shopping mall, eyes up, searching for openings nobody else could see. Can you imagine that? I sure can. Visualization won't make you a Super Bowl champion. It won't make you Kobe Bryant or Aaron Rodgers. It won't turn a late-round prospect into a Hall of Famer. Not on its own. But it can do something almost as valuable. It can make the unfamiliar feel familiar, rehearsed. It can assemble a board of directors in your mind's eye across time. It can help you arrive at a moment believing you've been there before. Stephen Covey writes, live out of your imagination, not your history. Russell Wilson spent his career doing exactly that. Long before he escaped the rush, he escaped it in his head. Long before he made the play, he imagined the play. And long before he arrived, he'd already been there. Imagine that. There we have it. That's the pod. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Give it a thumbs up. And if you've got a few extra seconds, give it a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you are listening. The engagement will make you feel so good, and it'll help other people find the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there you go, America. I love you. I'm proud of you. I mean it.
We gotta go.
We gotta go. This is great.